It's Sunday night. We're live. This is the Retro Bear from the Gaming Pantry, welcoming you once again to a live stream of the tNb Gaming Podcast. Hope you're all well. Thank you very much for popping along this Sunday evening, and hope it's been a good day for you. It's been a good weekend as well. I know a lot of you have been to Blackpool. Yes, Blackpool, which is the old Play Expo this weekend, which has been rather interesting. So I hope you had a good time up there and you've not contracted any nasty illnesses that may have been going around. Because I think, was it 2019? I think there was a case of flu or something that turned up, or people were seriously not very well afterwards. Anyway, so I hope it all went well. Seen some footage from there, courtesy of our good friend Big Game Al. If you haven't seen that footage, go across and have a look at that bit of raw footage yesterday. Like to see people in the chat as always. Let's get the banner going, so I've got to turn that on because I'm an idiot. There we go. Let's go back to the comments. Steve Cooper's World left a message earlier saying we're clashing with the Formula One. Well, what do you expect? If you want to watch cars racing around the track going nowhere, then that's the sort of thing you want to do. Hope you can pop in later, Steve, and you'll keep an eye on it. That'll be the main thing. UK Video Game Pirate. Good to see you here. Sorry about the football earlier. It was been on a quicker comment about that. If you haven't seen this gentleman's NES collection, it's belter. Go and have a look at it. I've got some shout outs to do, and there'll definitely be a mention of that in my latest video, which will be coming up some point in the next week or so. You may wonder what's happened to my videos, but there we go. It's good to see him in the chat tonight. And Daily Retro's here as well. Good evening, Dale. Was with me on Desert Island Games a couple of weeks back. If you haven't heard that, that's a good one. And yep, all settled downstairs. Mrs. Bear is here as well. So what are we doing tonight? Well, we have a specialist subject as always. 37 Retro may have just given it away. Yes, we're talking RPGs and JRPGs and anything with the words RPG or role-playing. That's not everything role-playing, because that goes into a completely different area. But we are going to be looking at those games tonight. Our guest has got some experience on that as well. And one of our usual tNb chaps has a bit more experience. A couple of them are going to be stabbing around in the dark, though. So that'll be quite interesting to see how that turns out. Rob, good evening, sir. Nice to see you here. I'll be talking to you tomorrow night, but that's for a future thing, hopefully. And Steve said he's going to watch the Grand Prix tomorrow. What a good man. I've been spend the first minute or so complaining he's going to watch the Grand Prix tonight, but now he's here in person, so that's great. It's great to have him here, and that's good. Rocket-propelled grenade games. I hadn't thought about that, but that'd be RPGG, wouldn't it? Possibly. I don't know. Right, let's bring in our first panelist this evening. He was at Blackpool yesterday, so he can give us a bit of a not like on the spot report, but a bit of a quick review about it. It's very good evening to Eddie Rollercall.
Hello, bonjour. How are you doing?
I'm all right, sir. So you were at Blackpool yesterday, then?
I was indeed. Yeah, I'm a survivor of the Blackpool 2021. So yeah,
yeah. You had
tags and everything.
Oh, yeah, but you only went yesterday, didn't you? You weren't there for the whole weekend because you were at work, weren't you?
Yeah, just on the Saturday, but yeah, still ram-packed edition of it. Yeah, it was pretty good just to meet up with everyone. Not much spending this year. I literally came away with one thing and then a bit of a trade with Big Game Al. So yeah, bit of a change for me, really. But it was just good just to see everyone and then play the games eventually. And again, like every year, the highlights for me were the pinball. Love the pinball.
Yeah, I watched Al's video about it yesterday. The amount of pinball machines there was absolutely insane. I've never seen that many pinball machines in one place at any one time.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about the Play Expos. The Manchester one's the same. They always have like a good showing of pinball machines. And like I said, like you can't replicate them at home. You can do all the video games, arcades are almost you can almost play them at home, can't you? But pinballs, you don't have that feel and sound of a pinball machine. Oh, it's nothing like it. I love it.
That's good. Retrodome Music is here. Good evening. You were here last time, my friend. Thank you very much for coming back. Beth's here as well. Beth, good to see you. We must try and get you back on at one of these at one point. We did say we're going to do that. And yeah, I'm hoping Eddie can have a lot to this as well. Otherwise, it's going to be all on one person tonight, because a lot of the other two will be sitting there going, I don't know what we're talking about. But there we go. Right.
I know a lot about role playing anyway. Whips and chains are my specialty. So,
well, I thought that was an area we were probably going to try and avoid tonight. But
is it a different type of?
Oh yes. So did you not get the message? No, it's not that. That's another one that we do on a Thursday evening. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to have a think then.
Over on the Marquis Desards YouTube channel. Topic for another time. Let's bring in our other TNB panelist this evening. Here in the nick of time, as always, it's Sean. Good evening, Sean.
Buenas noches. That's
Bueno.
my Spanish. But Eddie did French, so I don't Spanish.
I didn't ask what you had for tea. Buenas noches. How are you? How are you anyway? You all right?
Yes, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Yourselves?
Yeah, I had a bit of a rush to get here. Tea was a bit late being delivered. So I literally had to wolf my tea down and then run up here because our guest was waiting for us to arrive.
Yeah,
but...
and it's funny because 37 Retro said rocket-propelled grenade games. I thought this. What about that? Thought I'm going to speak about COD all night, but
that's true. Well, yeah, we can do that if we get to that point anyway. So that's something else, isn't it? Pedro's here. Yeah, the Marquis de Sade. Yeah, I know we had a message about that yesterday. 120 days of sodden cometh. You're having on our Wrestle Talk WhatsApp yesterday. Pedro mentioned he'd read that, but yeah. Oh, Retro Chef's here. Good evening, Retro Chef.
Evening,
how are you? He's strange to be on the other side of the coin. Usually we're watching you on a Sunday night. Well, every other Sunday, aren't we? Usually it's you doing this, and I take it he'll be doing a Halloween swap shop next week with some truly horrific swaps. I don't know.
Trading body parts, are we?
Possibly, yeah. I can just picture because as soon as he appears on Swap Shop next week with the introduction, someone's going to say, "Put your mask back on" or something like that. I guarantee it. Someone's going to say something like that. But good to see you here, my friend. Scary stuff ahead. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. There's a lot going on. I'm competing. Oh, Tony doing a stream tonight as well, is he? Okay. Well, we're not doing too bad at the moment. Anyway, RPG is what we're talking about tonight. Very pleased to say we've got a special guest with us to sit on the end of the panel. Somebody knows a little bit more about these things than myself, certainly. Previous Desert Island Games guest as well. You may have caught that episode. Some of this, hopefully, we'll unearth some different stuff we didn't get into there. But all the way from Bonnie, Scotland, it's a very good evening too. Generation Pixel, it's Stuart. Hello, mate.
Hello, Mr. Bear. It's good to see you again. And
it is, yes, very good. Yeah,
I'm on the tNb. What's this right now?
Yeah, it's a badge of honour really to be invited on this podcast because
absolutely.
Generally speaking, we've run out of things to say, so we're now at the point we just drag people in and just ask them to talk about stuff while we just sort of sit here and fill in, really. But
so just scraping the bottom of the barrel, okay? Right.
No, we haven't got there yet. I haven't got chef on just yet, but no, that's fine. I'm joking. I'm joking anyway. But no, it's that's good to have you here, mate. And I know I ran this past you a few weeks ago because unusually for us, we planned this a few weeks back. You were very keen on coming on, so I'm glad to stay there. Fortunately, Nath can't be with us. Nath was going to come on as well because obviously this is an area he's quite interested in. But unfortunately, something's come up, so he won't be with us tonight. But I hope you're watching anyway, Nath, and we'll have you back on here soon. Now, before we get into the usual topic, we always, we used to, old favourites was ask about what we've been doing on game-wise. Anybody? Let's start with Eddie. Been playing any games recently? Eddie, you'd like to share with us at all?
Not too many, to be honest. I've been doing a lot of setting up of equipment and stuff like that. That's my video gaming. I've been setting up like new SCART switches and stuff like that. So the whole weekend last week. So
this is probably going to move on to our sort of a next podcast, which we were talking about, wasn't it? Which I think we're going to be talking about a subject around that area of preservation, weren't we? I think.
Okay. Well, maybe I can add that.
That sounds like it's news to you. Did you not get the message on that as well?
Mate, I've only just woke up, so I don't know what's going on. But yeah, apart from that, the only one game I've played is Borderlands, and I've literally completed about an hour ago. So I seem to do that quite a lot. Just complete a game and then come on here, don't I? So,
Well, it's hot off the press that way, isn't it? So
yeah, but absolutely fantastic game. I've kind of done it like completely out of sync. First one I played was Borderlands 2, then 3, and then I've gone back and done number 1. So, yeah, it's a fantastic series. But, yeah, it's a little bit bare bones compared to the other two. But, yeah, talking RPGs, it's like an RPG first-person shooter. So,
does that work?
You have the tropes. I'll probably talk about it later anyway, because I can add that into RPGs, can't we? Maybe.
We can do, yeah. That seems fair enough. Again, does that work? The sort of the RPG first-person shooter concept.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
definitely.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Look at Fallout. The new Fallouts, Fallout 4, Fallout 3, they're playable as first-person shooters.
Yeah, that's very true, because one of the great things I think when I think of RPG, I think of like turn-based strategy, and we'll get onto that. We'll get onto that in a minute. But
Exactly, yeah.
yeah.
Because some of my favourite bits of that are the RPG elements, and I'll just be here all day if I started talking about that.
Well, that's all right. We got to about 10 o'clock to fill, so we should be okay. It's all right. Raz is here. Good evening, Raz, all the way from Sweden. Hope you're well. Nice here as well. Nice, thanks, mate. It's a good to know you're about. And UK Video Game Pirate completed Back 4 Blood campaign a couple of days ago. They should have called it Left 4 Dead 3. Anybody play Back 4 Blood?
Not yet.
No.
I wouldn't mind doing so.
But some you might do, yeah. Left 4 Dead, man. Left 4 Dead 2 and Left 4 Dead 1. I've got one of those, I think, certainly. Like an RPG when it's equally as good as Octopath Traveler, that has a similar graphical style with those more up-to-date establishments, so it's not just a 16-bit thing bored of them. That's just words to me, that is. I sound like I was just reading that out, and I was actually, because I wasn't really going up. Octopath Traveler, what do you say about that, Eddie? It was a good game.
Good game, but like it's a bit flawed in like the way it's set out. Just because it's called Octopath Traveler, that's 8 travelers, so you got 8 stories, and because of that, it kind of like the flow of it just kind of gets a bit, I don't know, a bit too separated. And then once you get past like a certain like story chapters, you then have like a massive difficulty spike, and it's just like near enough impossible to continue, I find out. And a lot of other people have said the same, actually. I know Pete Fight, I think he gave up on it the same place as I did.
I know Pete's mentioned it before, certainly. Yeah. Okay, Stuart, you've been playing anything you'd like to share with us at all recently?
Yeah, I've been playing 2 games of late. I've been playing Far Cry 6, which I'm enjoying thoroughly at the moment, and Eternal Darkness on the GameCube.
I've watched some of your played gameplay on that, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. I wish I'd played it back in the day. But you know what? I get to experience it now, so that's not a big deal. Far Cry 6 is... I don't know if any of you guys play the Far Cry games, but no.
I've never played one.
No. They're first-person shooters with light RPG. What can I say? So
it's going to become a theme that tonight, isn't it? Yeah. I wasn't quite aware we're going to be bringing in 2 different genres here, but okay, that shows me up. Steve's here as well. Eddie broadcasting for the Toolbox Club.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's the word I need to have levers to get into as well, is it, or something? And a mustache. A mustache.
Mikev Ham and Robin playing Back 4 Blood. It's good, but I can't help feel it doesn't complete with the charm Left 4 Dead had. So I'd best correct yourself a bit further on down there. Charm. Anyway, there's on the phone.
Is this a new release, Back 4 Blood?
Yeah, I've seen it advertised on the telly. Yeah,
it's on Game Pass. You can play it on Game Pass for free, so it's pretty good. Like, yeah. It's on PlayStation 4 as well, Sean, so you can get on there. Get on it.
So Eternal Darkness,
obviously.
It is.
Yeah.
It's Left 4 Dead 3, but just with a different name. For some reason, have not called it Left 4 Dead 3. They've changed it completely.
Right.
They've run out of fingers on the front cover. Left 4 Dead 2. I can't remember anyway.
Well, Valve have a problem counting to 3, so that's the problem, I think.
That could be it. That could be it. Sorry, Stuart. Eternal Darkness. Then I've been watching your gameplay footage on that. That's again, that's a game I saw when it came out originally. I thought, I know we mentioned it before, a couple of 3 weeks back, I think it was.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's taken me back to obviously the old school Resident Evil type games, but being slightly modern. Obviously, what was the early 2000s? You've got almost the pre-rendered backgrounds, but the camera can swoop in behind your character at times. So, fantastic game. I don't want to give any spoilers because there's some lovely mechanics in that game, and if you haven't played it, you should definitely dig up a copy and play it. I mean. Yeah. There's a sanity meter, and that's all I'm going to say about it, but it's such a fantastic mechanic.
it's going to push some of us over the edge playing that game. Most of us living close to the edge as it is anyway. So, Stu got round to burning my effigy for my Skyrim hate. If you're not, what Dale's on about, Dale, when he was on Desert Island Games, not this week, the week before, put his hated game, that particular one, and Stu put something in his comments about, what do you call him? Was it heathen or something? You're just going to just burn an effigy on, weren't you? Heathen, you heathen, Dale.
It was absolute blasphemy.
The new Fable is the RPG I'm looking forward to the most. Are they making another one of those? Okay. Very popular series, that. We've mentioned it before when we were doing audio-only podcasts. But I've got a couple of them. I've never actually played any of them. You just add that to every single thing. You can put it on my gravestone. I've got that, but I haven't played it. Sort of disappear. Sean, have you been playing anything in Note at all recently?
I'm ready for a drum roll.
Yeah. Go on, surprise us all, Sean. Go on.
Balls on COD. We've got a mid-season update with Halloween event, obviously, and they've similar to last year's zombies event. This time they replace the zombies with ghosts, but it's kind of the same mechanic. They've just tweaked a few things. And it's funny that Stu should mention a sanity meter on, is it Eternal Darkness?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm assuming it's probably similar to what COD have introduced in this new Halloween event. And you've got a fear meter, and as this fear meter rises, you start hallucinating, and there's things flash on screen. You start getting like blood dripping down screen, spiders dripping down. It's a bit off-putting, to be honest, because when these come on, you can't see anything that's going on, and a lot of time it can result in an unfair death. But yeah, there is safe zones to go into where it lowers your fear and you calm down, and these hallucinations stop. But yeah, it's not as good as last year's zombies. I'm going to be honest. There were a bit more atmosphere to it last year, but it is what it is, and still playing it regardless.
That actually sounds quite interesting to me. That would actually get me into playing COD, because I like things with like supernatural sort of like elements to them, and that's why I don't play COD, because of that reason. It's not like so much I hate first-person shooters. I just like to have a bit of a character to them, and that sounds pretty good.
Does it work then? Is it sort of still the same game, just with the zombie element, or does it feel like a different game?
No, it's more intense, because towards the end, obviously, you've got all these zombies who are fighting for souls, little blue orbs. When a player dies, it leaves behind a blue orb, and if you're a ghost, you have to collect 3 of these orbs to become back as a human. And the team that wins is the one with the last human alive. So in the final circles, it does get quite intense. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a great game, it's still a great Halloween event. Trouble is, when you've got something to compare it with, you kind of favour one or the other, don't you? And last year's for me was slightly better. But yeah, like I just said, it's still good fun. Still good fun.
And how does it compare to Galgun?
God, it can't compare there with.
Funny you should mention that.
Oh dear.
Is that the only thing you've been playing?
That is it, mate. That is
it. There we go. Well, funny you should. I haven't actually played anything, but I've downloaded a few things to give a go of, and bought a few things. I downloaded on PlayStation 4 the demo of R-Type Final 2.
Nice.
I don't think anybody. Now, I've got R-Type Final on the PlayStation 2, so I'm interested. Thought that would be R-Type Final, but no, there's R-Type Final 2. So, is it really R-Type Final 2, or is it like it doesn't quite make sense? So, whoops, I've downloaded that one.
Yeah.
So I shall try and give that a go. And yes, I picked up the Resident Evil 2 remake on PlayStation 4. I think mainly because Mrs. Bear wanted to give it a go, but I think I had James Games and Bird Room on Desert Island Games yesterday, and he was talking quite a lot about it. And there are quite a few people that mentioned it as well. So I thought, well, 12 quid in CX, I thought I'd pick it up. And then because Sean mentioned it a few weeks ago, I thought, oh, you know what, I'm going to go at this as well. So I picked up Calgon 2. Because it was 12 quid in CEX. I thought, you know what, I was going to buy that. I just have a go at it. It actually sets a standard for me, because not because of the game it is, but it's the very first Switch game I've actually ever bought, because all my Switch games have been bought for me. So it's actually the first Switch game I actually bought, and I bought that one.
What a choice.
Probably said an awful lot about me, but there we go.
So we're all weirdos together now.
Yeah, there we go. Well, just put it in my games with dubious covers that I seem to have got.
I'm hoping, Stuart, can you join the club? Have you got a Galgun in your collection?
I do not have a Galgun in my collection.
Well, there we go. So that's how I'm one up on somebody now for the first time ever. Gaming was I'm one up on somebody. Sean Horatio and Batson says RPGs suck. We'll get to that in a second. Sean is the Casper of COD. Ross is here as well. Ross was on with us a couple of weeks ago. Hooded Gamer. I don't know how to pronounce it. Hardcore Ross. Yeah, that's unusual for me, isn't it? There we go. Is he best got Galgun as well? There we go. And I think Ross is admitting to it at all. So there we go. Yeah, all weirdos here together. You every other Sunday. Come and join and feel accepted like everybody else does. It's fine, you know. Right, so that's what we've been sort of recommend, or we've been playing game wise. Let's get on to our subject for the broadcast this episode. Like I said, things to do with RPGs and JRPGs and all sorts of things. And I'll just turn my Xbox on by mistake. Oh, I missed to do that. Bloody hell. Right. Turn yourself. There we go. Turn off. Oh, man. Right, I'll sort that in a second. Stuart, so we brought you on to talk about this subject. I know it's a genre quite close to your heart. So why do you enjoy this particular genre so much?
Who knows why anyone likes any particular genre? I mean, I can probably track back to being about 10 years old, playing a game. I don't know, you guys don't know RPGs or RPGs that well. Wizardry, I mean, going right back to the IBMs now, I remember playing like a bootleg version back, it must have been about 83. And it was just little stick figures on the screen. And I was absolutely fascinated by it. The whole turn-based combat, 6 characters in a party. I mean, I was probably the type of kid that would have loved Dungeons and Dragons if we knew what Dungeons and Dragons was. So that was, I mean, it's hard to explain. But probably what sparked the flame was in 96 when Final Fantasy VII came out. I hadn't experienced an RPG probably until then, except that very first early memory, that very fundamental memory. And when Final Fantasy VII came out, it just, I don't know, it ignites something in you. You sit down and you play a game for the first time that you've never experienced before, and you get just so invested in it. And I think, I don't know, I think if you look up here, you'll see there's a lot of books hiding behind this.
There are, aren't there?
Yeah, behind all the games and the pops and everything else up there, you will see these, that's about 14 foot worth of books up there. So I think it's a story element. And I mean, I was speaking to you about it when we were doing the Desert Island, that I played the arcade games when obviously I was young. I was born into gaming back in the 70s, and I played things like the Pong machines, and I played the Space Invaders and Defender and what have you. And I got bored from that quicker than most people do. And I was looking for something with a bit more depth. So RPGs, you have these wonderful stories. And I mean, when you're looking at the JRPGs, the stories, they tend to be linear but interwoven with several strings of narrative. So there's a lot going on that you never get fully what's in a JRPG in the first playthrough. Not a JRPG, because you'll probably find that they're layered with maybe 3 or 4 different stories that you have to play through several times before you pick up on everything that's happening. And then you go into the Western RPGs. They're pretty much, they leave you to your own devices. You make your own story, and the Western RPGs, the things like Fallout and that, there is a linear story there, but you can go off and just do what you want for hours on end. As I say, it's really hard to pinpoint why you fall in love with an RPG, other than you get so invested in the characters and the stories. And if you love films, I was going to say movies there, but I don't know if Think Northerners in tonight, and I don't want to say the movie word here. But if you're invested in stories and you love video games, that's like a natural progression. And once you get hooked on RPGs, it's hard to go back to arcade games. It just really is. I mean, I can dip in and play now and again, but I can sit down and get invested in an RPG for hours upon hours. And I know you kind of mentioned yourself, Russ, that you don't have the time for that anymore. And you feel that's maybe one of the barriers that you have to enter into RPGs. But for me, any given moment, I will sit down and just to get invested in that story. So it's like reading a book or watching a film. It's as simple as that.
You see, I like films, and I like anything with a good story to it, and I like playing games. I just don't understand why, from that basis there, that this particular genre hasn't clicked with me for some reason. I don't know what it is. Perhaps I'm going about it the wrong way. I don't know.
You may just have to find your right story. I think Final Fantasy VII was just the perfect story for me at that time. It was just, and that was it. And I understood what RPG was, or JRPG was then. And once you understand what you're playing, fantastic. Addictive though.
Yeah. Yeah. They're immersive and addictive, and I mean, you mentioned the Western ones there, Fallout. I know that because Mrs. B used to play them, and as I said before, she got to the point in Fallout 4 where she had to stop, otherwise she was going to immerse herself even further into it, and that was it. Eddie, what about yourself? Because I know it's a genre that you quite enjoy getting yourself into. So
yeah, so I fall into very similar thing, like learning about RPGs the same way with Stuart, really, where I think everyone our age really did in the UK, because before Final Fantasy VII, we really didn't have many RPGs. And to be honest, it was when I first learned what an RPG really was. I'd actually played a few beforehand and absolutely loved them. Mystic Quest I enjoyed, but I didn't love it. But Shadowrun, when that came out, that was my first delve into RPG sort of gameplay. It was more of an action RPG rather than a turn-based one, but very similar kind of tropes, really, where you have to level up and stuff. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII came out and just blew everything out of the water. Story.
He's frozen, isn't he?
Oh, is he frozen?
Stuart, if you can hear us, your camera's frozen, my friend. So that rather erotic pose, I suppose. Really, I don't know what it is. Sorry, Eddie. Go on. If you can hear us, Stuart, come back, mate, because we've lost you.
Yeah, but yeah, Final Fantasy. It was it wasn't something that you could complete in a week or so. It was something that you had to really take your time with, and it was it took a few goes for it to really click in my head, but absolutely loved it. And as Stuart said, I'm a little bit different than him. I love the stories and stuff like that, but it's actually the gameplay that I really cherish more. There's something about going out into the open worlds and stuff like that after you've had the story. Welcome back.
He's back. Oh no, you're still muted. You're muted.
Well, there we go. The first.
No, you're still muted. You're still muted. No.
Can you not unmute him now?
I can't. Let's see if I can do anything. Hang on, let's try it. No, it says you're back. Oh, yes, you're back.
There we go.
Yeah. There we go.
As I
that
was
was
saying,
interesting.
That was the longest draw on that vape I've ever taken in my life.
Well,
I was
this
gonna say-
is just what we do. This is
Yeah. We had a go. I mean, just get them in and bump them off. Upcoming YouTubes, we get them on here and bump them off, and we never hear from them again. Anyway,
Actually, I'm a Sony fan. That was just loading time. So,
James and much more said he's never played a Final Fantasy game. Hi, James. I haven't played. I've played a bit of one. I wouldn't say I played many of them. So,
what one?
Yeah, what one is it, James? If you're still there, let us know. I played the first one. I played the first one on emulation. I couldn't get into it, and then I think I had a stab at Kingdom Hearts as well.
What age were you when you played that first one?
When I first played it, oh god, it must have been about. It's in the last 10 years, certainly.
Oh,
so I'd have been, not quite as old as I am now.
To be honest, it's quite a hard one to go back to unless you're an RPG lover, because there's a lot of grinding to be done in that one.
That's what I thought.
That over time, but the thing is, I think you get two different types of RPG lovers. There's like the one like me and the one like Stuart, where you're more like story based, whereas I love it. Like I was saying, but I love the grinding. I absolutely love it. There's something you kind of turn off a little bit, but then like all of a sudden when you've got to like really strategize and you've got to go into a certain battle with certain elements, certain like powers that you have to like build up, and it's like it's not so much the linear. There is a linear path to a lot of RPGs that you don't realize because it feels so open world, but what you can't do is you get to a certain place that's like blocked off with like certain items you can't get, or like literally you just can't beat the enemies in that sort of like field or area. And I just love like finding the way to get from like A to B, the way the game intends you to do. And it's just that sort of like unlocking of the game that just really clicks with me more so than the story. So absolutely love, and as well, and you mentioned that you can't go back to arcade games after playing RPGs and stuff. But I'm again, I love like the sort of like the long RPGs, and then straight after playing like a nice short sweet game like a shooter or like some arcade machine that you can complete within like 30 minutes, or at least attempt to anyway. And it just sort of like refreshes the sort of like gaming palette sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I tend to go to stealth games straight after an RPG.
Oh, no, can't do that. I can't do stealth.
Oh, I love a stealth game.
It frustrates the hell out of me. I just want to go in and just like attack everything. And it's like, again, I'm just instantly dead.
That's why I prefer action like that rather than building up to go into battle. Just running all guns blazing. Come back a second. Callum's here. Retro Ghetto. Nice to see you here, my friend. James. I think it was the only popular one on the SNES. I think it was Final Fantasy there, weren't we? Daily Retro. Final Fantasy 7 is a perfect 10 out of 10 game. I think a lot of people have it in very high regard. Although Nath disagrees, he thinks Final Fantasy 6 is better. Chrono Trigger is better, and Final Fantasy 3, in my opinion. It's Kevin Wolford who is here. That's interesting.
100%. I much prefer like when I found Chrono Trigger, which was like on a CDR for the PlayStation. I just absolutely fell in love with it. We never got it for the Super Nintendo. You see, it was a Super Nintendo game originally, but then it got onto like an anthology pack for the PlayStation. Oh my god! When I played that was like that was RPGs for me. That 16-bit visual, I love it so much more than like Final Fantasy 7. I don't know. It's a bit more like sort of like binary to me. I don't know. Just whereas like Final Fantasy 7's a bit like there's a bit more going on, and that can kind of get in the way of certain like leveling up elements. I find, especially as Final Fantasy progressed through the ages, it kind of really turned it off for me.
Yeah, it definitely changed Final Fantasy. It changed drastically over every incarnation.
Yeah, just Eddie. Have you switched to Legions or something, mate? We're going to get shut down about this, It's a good job no one's turned up wearing a burqa tonight. Graham, Ham Station X is here. Nice to see you, Graham. Are you popping a regular viewer previously. Going back to the comments, I think it said Retro Final Fantasy 3 is a good Final Fantasy to start with. Final Fantasy 8 gets a lot of hate, but most enjoy coming back to it on the Switch and replaying. James said, not much of an RPG kind of guy, but did play a lot of Ultimate Online. Blimey, that's going back a few years, that one as well. Big popular series, Ultimate. Remember that and King's Quest were big sort of RPG games when I was younger. Nathan, Final Fantasy 3 is just Final Fantasy 6, just to confuse everybody. I think that's right, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, in America, 6 was 3, and
I
don't know.
Yeah, that's why you can call it the Madness of King George 3, because they'd have thought there'd been 2 films before it. Everybody remembers that one. Beth says she's going to throw it out there and say my favourite RPG is Dragon Age Origins.
It's a very good game.
I'm pretty sure Dale can comment on that one, because he's a big Dragon Age fan as well. Ross, does anyone here consider Zelda an RPG or just an adventure game?
Well, it's an action
interesting question.
RPG, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
an ARPG.
Sean?
I've never played that.
I'm glad you said that, because I was about to say that. I don't know. I played different Zelda games. I don't know. Well, are we talking Zelda in general, or are we just focusing on perhaps the earlier titles, which were less arcadey than the more modern games that have come out?
Zelda changed, didn't it, over time? But the thing is, as well, so did RPGs. Like RPGs were totally just turn-based sort of like affairs, but then over time, like I think developers kind of got a bit worried that like people would be turned off, so they needed to add more and more things to it. And if you play more modern RPGs now, especially from like the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 area, you get a lot more that's actually, you don't just stand in like groups of like characters, they're all doing stuff while you're doing stuff, and you're what you have is like sort of like a timed attack. So like each of your attacks that you can do will come into play after a few seconds, and they're all like, you build up your stats to get that like a certain attack quicker to be available to you. So that's it turns the turn-based into that. I don't know if you've played Xenoblade or anything, Stuart, but like that plays.
No, I haven't played Xenoblade. No.
Oh, you need to play that. It's absolutely fantastic game. Although my problem with RPGs is I always get to the end boss and I always seem to like fail at the last boss just recently. That just seems to be my case. I'm just never quite ready for it.
Well, that's RPG for you, Yeah. It gets you to the end, but if you haven't put in the grind, you just won't get through that last boss.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, 80 hours all the way just to get thrashed by the end. Sorry,
Russian Ambassador, the Projector Infantry Anti-Tank PI-AT is my favourite RPG. I've never heard of that one.
So I think he's on like the RPG like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to
just people put stuff in the comments, I'll just read them out, without sort of doing anything to do. Gordon, give 84 Gaming's here. Good to see you. Dale's actually rightfully agrees with Beth. Dragon Age Origins is amazing, 10 out of 10 again. Very much a different style, a bit more cinematic. Yeah, Sean, what's your... didn't tie up your taking a swig there, mate. Sorry, I didn't realise that. What's your experiences with this genre? I know you and me are sort of sitting here as the complete duffers of this particular panel this week, but I mean, Mike. So, like I said, apart from dipping my toe in and not really liking it, I just can't get into them. Just can't get into them.
Yeah, same with me, and I have dipped my toes into it, so to speak. The first one being Final Fantasy VII, at least what I know of, that I know that it was an RPG. And to be fair, I did kind of get into Final Fantasy VII at the time, and I can't remember how far into the game I got, but I got reasonably far into it, and I did put some hours into it. And it's kind of strange actually, because you mentioned like it's about the story and that. And bear in mind, I used to love my text adventures, graphic text adventures, very much storyline based. And it's kind of strange that I've never really, kind of followed that up and gone into RPGs. And probably...
You would have thought that'd been a natural progression, though, wouldn't you? Because we grew up playing those. I know Stuart would have done as well because he's from sort of end of the age scale. That putting it in a nice way without giving away how well we all rest.
I'm old.
Yeah, but you'd have thought they'd have come from there because
definitely
you're following the same path more or less without that interaction you get with the turn-based stuff.
Yeah, and I've even thought about it, and I thought perhaps I considered such as Final Fantasy VII too slow. Maybe pressing X to pass through all the chat, which sometimes it's just 3 dots. It's not all that. But text adventures were slow, so I can't really use that as an excuse. It's just a game. It's just a genre I've never really progressed into, and Eddie's tried his best, bless him, to get me into it. Is Ni no Kuni an RPG?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just could not. Yeah. Yeah, well, it was all suggesting, because I got that box set as well, didn't I? I can remember.
It's such a beautiful game.
It's lovely looking, I must admit.
Oh, hang on. You're going to show that on this, Stu. We'll just bring you up. Hang on. There we go. Just tilt it. That's it. There we go. Ni no Kuni.
Yeah. This is probably one of my all-time favourite games on the PlayStation 3, without a shadow of a doubt. The art style, the story, the combat, everything was just...
Yeah. And again, so drastically different to Final Fantasy VII as well.
Oh, there's just so many different types of RPG, different types of story, different types of combat. It's just, if you find your one, it's like finding your true love. And then you start shooting on Final Fantasy with Suikoden and Ni no Kuni.
I completely get that. Lagrange Point Famicom is fantastic. Loads of hours into it and left it for a while and forgot where to go.
Great soundtrack on there as well. I think that's known for the soundtrack as well, Lagrange Point, but it's Japanese only, unfortunately.
Some of the best RPGs ever: Witcher 3, Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, Heroes of Might and Magic 3. No, the Might and Magic series, that was around when I was a lot younger. That's Retro Dome Music. Again, I think Dale was very up on the Witcher 3. I've got all the Mass Effect games, but I never actually played them. There we go. Popular line tonight, isn't it? Yeah. Love the Dragon Age series as a whole. Each game's got its own way, but Origins of Flaws, I love it. I played it over and over. Even the Japanese version to redo the achievements, blimey.
That is nuts.
That is nuts. It's nuts. I bought the Japanese version of the last story on the Wii. I don't know, hoping hell of playing it because it's a language I don't understand. I just wanted to own the game. Sega Zombies here. Good to see you, Scott. If you haven't seen Scott's latest video, by the way, couple of really interesting things in there. Big announcement as well. If you have not seen it, I shan't spoil it for you, but do go across and have a look at that. Really good video and some exciting news there. Sometimes the dialogue in RPGs is a bit much when they talk about arbitrary nonsense. That's like us, isn't it, really? It is very much like an RPG.
And you're sitting watching this, yeah.
They talk about break the plot down so much it treats you like an idiot. Yeah, it is like this podcast, yeah. I know. Beth says, my copy of Dragon Age is signed by the developers. Very good. That's an interesting one. Scott says, RPGs need too much time and attention span. Yep, I do agree with that one, to be honest with you. But
I can't just play one RPG after the other. It's just, I need to break up my gameplay experience. Like, that's the thing. If you do an 80-hour game, I can't play another 80-hour game straight after that. It is. I love them to bits. Absolutely love them to bits, but I feel like if I just keep playing too many in a row, it would just like spoil them for me. I mean, do you play them in the one after the other then, Stuart, or do you?
The only RPGs that I play one after the other is Suikoden and Suikoden 2, but they're like 30, 40 hours max each. So it's just like playing one modern one. So Yeah.
Only 30 and 40. Some people are thinking, blimey, that's like 2 days in a row.
That's nothing.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Very unpopular opinion, Breath of the Wild sucks. No, it's not an unpopular opinion. Quite a few people do share that with you as well. A lot of people think it's fantastic. A lot of people absolutely hate it. So I think it's
Sweet God.
eh?
Oh, I'm just looking at Nathan.
Oh, hang on, we'll get to him in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. 13 Retro says, when playing an RP, do you, if it lets you change the main hero's name to your name? Cloud in Final Fantasy VII becomes Tony Stroke John or whatever. I usually try and feel that a little bit more involved in the story. Anybody do that?
Did first time, don't anymore.
Yeah.
So if I play Final Fantasy now, it's Cloud and Barrett. I don't change them to Luke, Han, and Chewie. So
If I'm playing FIFA or Pro Evolution, I tend to put my own name in. Does that count?
it's kind of like an RPG if you're putting yourself into the game.
Yeah.
Well, it is really, because it's sort of like you start a player creation off and then you work your way through a career and move around.
And you've got stats, and you build on the stats, and you unlock achievement. Yeah, it's an RPG.
FIFA is an RPG.
There we go. Yeah.
Well,
Controversial opinion.
funny you should say that. I only have 3 FIFA games for the PlayStation 4, and that is 17, 18, and 19. And that's because they have an option in called The Journey, which is basically an RPG. You take control of a young up-and-coming footballer coming out of the academy, and you take him through his journey to become a professional footballer and win the World Cup over the course of those 3 games. And it's the only ones I have because of that story mode. It's an RPG in FIFA.
I've got to say, you've not sold it to me.
But you get to meet Thierry Henry.
I don't even know who that is.
That definitely hasn't sold it to me at all. Sega Zombie. Zelda Wind Waker and Link to the Past and Zelda games I finished. Oh, that's 2 more than me.
Wind Waker's a great game. Another beautiful game.
Oh, yeah, it is. I've got the HD remake. That's going to be priced quite a bit now, that has, on the old Wii U. Rob's with us. If you haven't heard, we've got Stuart this night, and we don't tend to put the guests link in until they appear, because we like to keep it a bit of a secret. So if you haven't checked out Generation Pixels channel, that's Stuart below here. Go across and have a look there. Thank you for Rob for doing that, mate. Ban Beth. No, I'm not going to do that, Braz. Suikoden. I take it's the pronunciation we're talking about here, aren't we?
It is. It's a pronunciation, and it tends mostly to be North Americans, and they use Google Translate, and it translates into a sort of European version, which comes across as Suikoden, and it's just not. That's not right. It's Suikoden.
That's how I say it.
Suikoden.
What, in a British sort of like?
But yeah, I still have this Scottish accent behind it. So, but this Suikoden, no, I mean they're changing the SUI to Sui, as in like Swiss, or
yeah,
they're making it European. Google's making it European, and it's not right. No.
I was having an argument about that with somebody else about how you pronounce a word, and then you wouldn't pronounce that word that way if you're saying it this way, and it's. I mean, Scott sums it up. He can't pronounce half the JRPGs, let alone play them. I've trouble with the English ones, let alone that. I love the medieval RPG more than the Japanese fantasy. Now, that I could probably get in. I can agree with that comment from UK Video Pirate, because I would probably find that more appealing. So he did mention something about playing Fable, which I said I haven't done before. I would probably more like to sit down and play that than some of the Final Fantasy games.
Yes, so maybe fantasy games are in a medieval setting in some of them.
Yeah.
And they're all medieval styly, but in a Japanesey way. So,
or you've got Kingdom Come. Or you get Kingdom Come, which is just purely medieval RPG. There's no magic. There's nothing like that. You start off as a young boy with no skills, and you have to learn how to use a sword or blacksmith. Or you should try that one. Have a look up that.
I think I will.
Stuart,
Kingdom Come
what's your
Deliverance.
favourite type? Are you a medieval, or are you actually into the Japanese style RPG?
I really don't have a preference when it comes to that. It's all down to the story with me. If the story can get me in the first maybe 3 hours, that's it. And yes, people are thinking 3 hours, but yeah, you got to give them 3 hours.
So you're equal, like an Western and a.
Yeah, I love both Western and
You see, I'm
JRPGs.
more totally Japanese. I just can't quite get into like the real seriousness of games. That kind of put me off, like Final Fantasy, in fact, like because when Final Fantasy VIII came out, I was like, the graphics are too realistic. At the time, I was like really put off by that because I just love that like sort of like twee, sort of like cutesy look of like sort of like the early RPGs. Sort of like Dragon Quest, and
I absolutely hated Final Fantasy VIII's graphics because it tried to be realistic.
Yes.
And they didn't have the technology to be realistic. And it looked awful. It just looked awful. And that's one of the first things that put me off Final Fantasy VIII. So
I've not actually gone and fully completed it yet.
Me neither.
Because of that reason.
Me neither.
But I know Scott Gloryhunter, he says that's one of his favourite games in the series. So I keep trying to go back. Keep trying to. Can't do it.
Got several copies of it. So.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII is a goat.
Yes, it is.
Are there goats in Final Fantasy VII? Where did this phrase "goat" come from? It sounds the greatest. I'm not that stupid. It sounds the greatest of all time. I know it looks stupid, but where's that? I kept saying, so and so's a goat. It's like, that's not very fair, is it? Really? And describing people. Pedro says Final Fantasy died after the fourth one.
Do you know
the
what?
NES.
I
Those ones are superb.
Final Fantasy 15. The crap that it gets, I absolutely love that game. I really do. Like, it really got me back into the Final Fantasy lore and everything like that. It's really slow to start off with, but once you got playing it, I fell in love with it. Totally different.
Totally different, yeah.
Totally different. But the thing is, you can go and buy cup noodles, which are basically pot noodles, like official branding of cup noodles in the storyline, and you can actually buy them in real life as well. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a lot of opinions on these sort of things. A lot of people in the chat as well. Thanks everybody for making comments so far, and it's great that so many people have got opinion on this. Pedro says I didn't like any of the 3D ones. What do we make of the Disney crossover with Final Fantasy? You mentioned Kingdom Hearts earlier. Any thoughts on that at all?
They're on my backlog. I've never played them.
Yeah,
I tried playing it, and I couldn't get to the Disney characters, so I started up, and I thought, it's taking forever. Where the Disney characters played about an hour and a half or so, and I thought, oh, no, not for me.
Well, after owning probably about 10 times of each game, because there've been so many remakes, remasters, whatever, I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. I'll play the PlayStation 4 one because it's probably been optimized for a bit more of a modern standard. No, I started playing it and it just bored the hell out of me.
Really?
It's because it's early 3D sort of like gameplay. It's just a bit slow and everything like that. But the story is all like sort of like intertwined. So it's always put me off. But I've heard 2 is a lot better, and I'm really looking forward to playing 3 because obviously that's more modern. But I just have to like forget about. I don't know anything about the story before and just try and jump in because. Yeah, I really want to like them, but I just can't.
Yeah, Pedro says didn't hate them; they were okay. Nathan makes a valid point. You'd want someone Donald Duck if you're in a fight. Actually, I think Donald Duck would be quite useful, to be honest with you. I think it's probably one of the Disney characters I'd summon, rather than say Minnie Mouse. I think it'd be a bit of a waste of time. I don't think Goofy would be much help either, but yeah. No, you wouldn't want him really. Breath of Fire is good. Now, is this the Fire Emblem series?
No. That's Breath of Fire.
See, I don't know, do I? I don't know. What am I doing here? I don't know.
It's Capcom's take of RPGs. So yeah, Capcom made an RPG.
Okay, yeah.
Super Nintendo. The PlayStation ones. Well, I've only played 3. And I didn't like the weird 3D isometric look of it.
I love that. You can turn the screen so you can see behind things in case you're missing any of the genes and
Yeah, I played it and it was just like this. Yeah, it was just too zoomed in. Grandia is getting the same problem with me at the moment. I started playing that and I just stopped because of the 3D esqueness of it.
What one?
Grandia.
Oh no, it's
and
great
another
as well.
one that everyone says like is a fantastic game.
I mean, Grandia 2 is far superior. It's one of the few where the second one was better. So
yeah, I think I'm going to just jump into that one.
Jump into Grandia 2.
For me though, like my favorite RPG series, Breath of Fire. Not Breath of Fire.
Yay!
Dragon's Quest, absolutely. I don't think there is a bad one of them at all.
And no, you can't just turn it into a dragon. That's just the beauty of the Breath of Fire. You hunt down genes. There's separate genes, like the fire gene, the wind gene. You can combine these genes to become different types of dragon. I mean, who wouldn't want that ability?
But 2D, great. 3D, not so great. Yeah, the Super Nintendo ones are still brilliant in my eyes.
Richard Music asks, what about farming RPGs like Stardew Valley? Now, that game's quite a bit on the old desert island for people who haven't listened to it. Regular listeners will know. And that's been mentioned quite a bit recently. And I quite like the sound of this.
Mm.
I do like the sound of the game.
RPGs.
Yeah. Farming.
I mean...
tractors and stuff.
It's the type of game I'll turn to if I want to completely switch off.
Mm.
If I want to play a game while I'm absolutely doing nothing, you don't have to think about it at all.
Now, is that a compliment or not, Stuart? Because
it's a compliment. They're great games for resting your brain too if you've been playing something heavy. I wouldn't have come off the back of Persona 5 and went into another RPG, but I could have went into Stardew Valley and just relaxed through that.
Definitely.
But yeah.
I mean, there is certain RPGs that actually do have a little bit of a farming element into it. So that's okay for me, but for it to be a full-fledged game is just a bit too much. It's like sometimes with like them elements that get added into the RPGs, it kind of puts me off a little bit. I do it like start sowing my seeds a little bit and then just never go back, and they always like go off or die or whatever. And then I've not got the element that I need for the future boss, and that's why I can never bloody complete these games.
I think I'd enjoy playing it more than actually do real sort of gardening and things. I hate doing stuff like that. So to be able to play a game like that, it does appeal. I know I've spoken to a couple of people who mentioned it. I think it was on Dale's. A lot of fun co-op on Switch. Doesn't force you to do anything like that. A lot of depth to it. If you want to explore it, very relaxing. Takes the least amount of mental energy to play. So backing up what you were saying there, Stuart, doesn't it? Really.
So does that? Does that fall into? Sorry,
Sean. Yeah,
have anybody ever played the Tribes on mobile?
No, Tribes I've played. Lemmings, the Tribes I've played.
I just wondered if that were an RPG.
What's that like then, Sean?
Well, a farming RPG. Basically, build your village, grow your crops, fight off enemies that try and attack you. So I don't know. Am I
it sounds like
right lines?
That sounds like a mobile RPG. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got into that.
Next up, Suikoden.
Well, if you're into that, then we're now very much playing a game of which of these panel members is not like the others. Because obviously you've got into that, and obviously Eddie and Stuart into their RPG. So yeah, I mean, Farming Simulator 2017. Those games seem to sell incredibly well, don't they?
I think
don't
they're
know.
more for people who like destruction and like they'll start making a farm and then all of a sudden destroying it with like a combine harvester.
Well, funny enough,
I've
Stephen
seen
had-
loads of streams like that. They're quite funny actually.
yeah, accidentally ploughed the cornfield with a tractor instead of a harvester, and then all the chickens died of bovine flu, which they caught off Daisy the cow. Yeah, brilliant. There we go. I like that.
Oh,
I think, as you sort of said, then the destruction of it probably is. Do you play it seriously, or do you just decide to go in there and just create havoc? The entire world overtaken by farmyard animals. I don't know. It'd be interesting. That anyway. So, preference of JRPGs to RPGs, is there? Have you? Do you prefer one over the other?
well, for me, if I had to choose, I would choose JRPG. But I don't want to choose because I love both.
Okay. Well, okay, so I'm going to make you choose. Pick one.
JRPG. I would have to go JRPG. Yeah.
JRPG.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that? If you had, if I was to push you for a reason, or was it just...
Better stories, far better stories. The narratives are far superior in the Japanese role-playing games. Yep.
Sort of like that Disney style, like wistfulness, where it's like everything is great, and then all of a sudden there's this world-changing event that's just like cataclysmic, and then you, as a little boy, basically, most of me are just like this little boy that isn't ready to become this great soldier, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like you coming from nothing and then becoming mighty, and you don't like Western RPGs are not like that. You're already this big mighty soldier, and I don't like that. I kind of love the Japanese look of it. Plus, they're so colourful and bright, and they just make you happy and smile when you play them. I love the colourfulness of a Japanese JRPG. But, I mean, the thing is, when you go to the JRPGs, you've also got to talk about the strategy RPGs.
Oh, I love them as well, though.
Absolutely
yes,
love them.
Strategy.
So you kind of got the two quadrants of the JRPG that I absolutely love.
We'll get to that in a second, because I know there's other games in that. Wasp Simulator would be amusing. I reckon that's a Phoenix game. I'm pretty sure Phoenix have already got in on that one.
There's the Bee Simulator on the PlayStation 4.
There's Mr. Mosquito on the PlayStation 2.
That's true. There isn't. Yeah, yes. Who picked it up a car boot for nothing? Was it a couple of quid? Was it Nate? Oh, yourself, was it?
Oh.
Yeah, I thought it might have been.
£2. And when I took it into trade, it was like 20 quid trade or something. And I was like, how is a PlayStation 2 game worth that? Because usually people just take in 50p games, don't they?
That's right. They get rid of them quickly. Yes. Oh, I'm going to show us now.
Mr. Mosquito. Oh, destroyed the place. Mr. Mosquito
broken something there.
Well. Yeah. Not many people know about that one.
Yeah, there we go. I'll just show it again. I'll put that close up, Eddie. Can you show it again? Mine. There we go.
There we go. So, yeah, it's all about like stinging characters when you're asleep, and it's a bit perverted, realistically.
Oh, it's another one of those games, is it? Oh,
yeah,
right.
You get extra points for some of the intimate parts for stinging them.
Yeah, I thought Nath got it for nothing. He got it for 30p.
Oh, he beat me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I knew one of you picked it up cheaply. I don't know with it yourself already, Nath, but there we go. The ending of Mother 3 had me bawling my eyes out. That game is flawless.
Still not played the other games.
No.
I've started them, but I never finished.
No, I haven't started them yet.
Yeah, Earthbound is Mother 2 is Earthbound. People probably have heard of that one.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah. So there's quite an emotional moment in Final Fantasy, isn't there? One of the games. Was a
Spoilers.
Yeah, well, it's a 20-year-old game. It's hard to get away with this. I mean, how obviously immersing yourself into RPGs. If you get something like that event that happened, which I'm not going to mention, in case anybody does want to go back and play it. I mean, did it affect you? Those who played it, did it affect you emotionally as well? Do you get affected emotionally by things like that?
Absolutely, especially the first time you play it. That particular scene you're talking about, because you have an illusion of a certain amount of control at that scene. It's just an illusion, so you don't have any control. The outcome is going to be the outcome, but it teases you that it's not. And when it finally you have to give in, you realise that was it, and it was devastating. It was devastating, that scene. And I was what age was I? I was 24, 23, 24.
You
And
played
yeah,
it quite recently then. Yeah.
yeah, I just played it last week, yeah. But yeah, it was a very emotional scene. And you've been playing the game for a while until you get to that point as well. Doesn't happen early on, and you get invested in your characters, especially that one. Yeah. Yeah. And it's that illusion. It's that illusion that you can change that particular scene. And if you've not played it, you won't know what I'm talking about. But there's a certain mechanic in that part of the game that you think that you might be able to make a difference, and you just can't. So they teach you that way as well. It's a great mechanic. It was a great trick to play in their audience. Yeah.
I don't think they'd done much like that before. It was quite, a very pivotal moment in video gaming history, I think, if I remember correctly. The death of a main character like that.
Yeah.
You gonna say something there, Eddie, about that?
Yeah, I'm just heartless. I was just like, that's the boss. I'm just gonna get to this boss and kill the boss.
I'm sure that's poignant or something, but there we go. Anyway.
I'm emotionally unstable and unbalanced, so that kind of stuff is like. But then if I lose my favorite sword or something like that, that would kill me.
Well, don't go around playing Breath of the Wild then, because that's one of people's biggest bugbears right at the very start of that game.
That's why I hate.
Oh, my sword's broken. Of course, he's going to break it. Been using it. That's what swords do in real life. Yeah, I find you do get emotionally attached to certain characters. It's like playing Football Manager, and a player wants to move on. You don't want him to go, but he goes. But then I get no emotional attachment whatsoever when giving Alan Shearer a free transfer and hope he dies on the dole. But there we go. That's what it is. Bioshock. That's what he was talking about. There we go. Bioshock, Russ. That's my other nickname that I use occasionally. That's an interesting one.
It's not Retro Bear anymore with all them PlayStation 4 games you've been playing.
No, yeah. It's just be called Bear now. A lot of people call it. Yeah, current Bear. Slightly fruity, yeah. Right. So strategy-based games. We're going to talk about those. What have we got?
Well,
you want to go first?
Well, I think Final Fantasy did it again, didn't it? They introduced it to us. Final Fantasy Tactics, that was the first foray into tactics games. I mean, we actually got introduced to quite a lot with the Mega Drive, but I didn't really see any of them. There's quite a lot of good tactics RPGs on there. But alas, it was the PlayStation that introduced us to the game. And the Final Fantasy name was huge. So they made a tactical game. Basically, it's like chess. And it's just like that mental arithmetic that I absolutely love. The stories that have it around it are good and everything again. Again, very JRPG-esque and stuff like that, where it is like the world is ending and you're just like this little kid that tries to go out and save everything. But it's like you get put onto this board and you kind of you've got like a little army that you kind of got progress that all move in different types of ways, and you get better attacks by positioning yourself in different places. And I always remember when I think again, before I knew what RPGs were, I remember seeing one called Front Mission on the Super Famicom. It was in Superplay magazine because they always used to champion games that were going to come over here. And I can remember seeing it, that and Final Fantasy as well. And I can remember thinking, they look absolutely fantastic. The pixel art that was coming across in these magazines were brilliant. I couldn't wait for them. And they just never happened. They just stayed in Japan. We just never got it, but eventually went on to play a mech game that has strategy game elements, because it eventually came out on the DS and was able to play it 20 years later or something. Brilliant games, absolutely one of my favorites.
Is there a reason a lot of these games tend to get left in Japan and not brought out over here? Because obviously you two have spoken quite eloquently about those sort of games, and they are incredibly popular, but they don't seem to, a lot of the that stayed in Japan that never came out over here. Is there a reason for that, you think, or?
The only reason that anyone's ever given is Japan don't believe that the Western audience could handle them. And that's for the majority of their games.
Mm.
They think they need to dumb everything down for the Western audience. I don't know whether that's cultural or not, but yeah, that's the only answer that you'll get.
If they're watching this podcast, I can agree with it.
I think it's more of like the executives over in like the Western side, more so than Japan. But the thing is, as well, like what I've learned about collecting Japanese games is RPGs in Japan are like sports games over here. They're worth pennies. There's that many of them. There's just so many iterations of like JRPGs. And the thing is, as well, like it's the cost that these people would have to pay to translate them across. It's not the same like something with a bit of text, go out and fight, and then you get to like the next stage, and then there's only like a couple of lines of text. This is like translating a whole book, and it's like that cost that they would have to put in for a game that's not selling well, because Western games, RPGs did not sell well up until like more recent times. It's only like even the PlayStation's like that was only when it first started getting popular over here. So the cost associated to bring them all over would have been way too high for them not to ever sell.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point, that one. Sean, anything to add to that at all?
No.
No.
No, I mean, I'll tell you what has opened my eyes a little bit, though, is like modern RPGs. I'm still stuck in this old school belief that an RPG is like Final Fantasy VII, that kind of, isometric kind of view, and from like the SNES days, little characters walking around these little paths and stuff, and like I mentioned earlier, is it The Witcher 3? You class that as an RPG? I really didn't know that. And I think what Daily Retro in his Desert Island games, he even went to the extent of saying that GTA could be classed as an RPG.
Almost.
You think? Yeah. I mean, I love GTA, so.
Well, we've thrown FIFA in there, so let's throw GTA in.
Yeah, go on. Throw it in.
Well, I think it's like the thing is as well, to build up your stats in RPGs, you have to go on like little side missions. You couldn't go and complete the game like with all the story missions on an RPG and actually be able to complete it. You have to build yourself up by going, you go to a village and like someone's son's been missing for the last few days, and then you have to find him in a cave full of monsters or something like that. It's like that would be how you build up your stats. But in GTA, you've got very similar things where instead of like monsters or kids going missing, it's like drugs that have been taken by some like gangsters and you got to go shoot them down. It's a little bit different, isn't it? Well, very similar kind of premise where it's like side stories to like progress the story.
So is Assassin's Creed an RPG?
It's getting that way.
Yeah. Because I've had a little play of it, the earlier ones, but I've always watched Jo playing it. She's played all the series, and I must admit, I'm impressed by him. Certainly impressed, but I don't know. It's just again, I go back to this like slowness of the traveling and then the dialogue. But I suppose like The Witcher 3 and that, that's not turn-based combat though, is it? No. This is like more hack and slash. So I suppose that does kind of appeal to me more than the turn-based stuff. So perhaps these modern RPGs could be right for me.
Have you played Witcher then? Or is it just
I've watched Jo play it again.
That is probably one of my favorite Western RPGs. I really didn't think I would like it because of what I've kind of put myself off with in the past. But I mean, again, fantastic sort of like leveling up system, like story based. Every mission that you go on is really fun, where it's not like a copy and paste of the previous one, like a lot of them do. And then you have like little elemental attacks that you kind of like have to. You can't just go into a fight and just fight one way. You have to learn to adapt to it, sort of thing, like a JRPG. And that's kind of what made me love it. Love it really.
You
Plus,
can't just button mash then.
Plus, there's no, you can't at all. Plus, there's
Okay.
great sex scenes. You know, they're all right. Choose who you want to go off and bed in the story, don't you? And if you bed too many of them, they get a bit angry and
they get upset.
Yeah, they get.
It's like real life, then, isn't it? You know? Yeah.
It is, yeah. You're supposed to really just mate with just one of them and just have your favourite one, but they're all pretty good, aren't they? Pretty hot.
Just want to give a quick mention to Retro Kit. John's in. John's not been very well lately, and it's good to see him back, and hope everything's all right for you, John, as well. You're over the worst of it. History nerd, I love Assassin's Creed. Yeah, that's why I like it. Who sold me on Black Flag? Was it on Desert Island Games? I can't remember. Someone's talking about. I was thinking about being Northern about the fact you were a pirate. I was really sold on that one. So,
it's a really good game.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere. So I'm once I get my room sorted out, I'll be able to pop there and get a go properly. If you're a modern game looking at RPGs, Witcher 3 is the first game I recommend. That's from Dale, and he does know his stuff. Listen to his Desert Island Games treatment. Yeah, John, there we go. Yeah, thanks, mate. No worries at all. I'd say I haven't commented on your video yet, John, but I will do so. I'm going to see you back anyway. Yeah. So, what's an example of a bad RPG that you've played, chaps?
Fallout 3.
No.
Oh dear me, we're in controversial territory here.
Dale and Eddie on the list for the effigy.
Just why I drop that in there.
He's joined ISIS since Stu, so naturally. Yeah.
Oh.
Why Fallout 3 then, Eddie? Because I get it. I know it's one of these games that pops up and people either love it or they hate it, but why that one in particular?
I mean, I want to like it. I think what it is I want to like it. I love all the sort of like merch that you can buy of it. It's all like nice and colourful, but when you play the game, it's like just drab, boring, and I don't know. I just don't like the actual shooting elements of it. Like, I don't know what it is. I just can't get into any of them. So, I mean, the original Fallouts, they're pretty cool. Like, where they're sort of like a bit like over the top Diablo-ish style. A bit more of a traditional RPG sort of feel, but yeah, I can't play the new modern ones. Sorry,
because of the first person element.
It's not because of the first, because I like Borderlands. I love Borderlands because you're in this similar kind of situation. You're in a wasteland, but the thing is, the story is just like, for me, captivating, funny, and it's like that colourful, like sort of cel shaded look that I just really like wins it for me.
Yeah, you mentioned that in your Desert Island Games as well, didn't you? I keep mentioning Desert Island Games. It's a bit of a trigger word.
I mentioned how much I hate it in there. So.
Quick point on Assassin's Creed. Before I ask Stuart the question, doesn't Assassin's Creed have some stupid amount of research into it? Like everyone you kill is a real person, no characters are fictional.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Is it
well,
really?
Except for the NPCs, soldiers and stuff like that. All your main assassinations are real people from history. Yeah. The Borgia and all the famous pirates from Black Flag, all the real ones are all in that. So and they do the dive into that history for Assassin's Creed.
I did not know that.
No,
that's a really good point there.
And you get a lot of the history in the game if you want to find it and read it. I mean, you'll come across famous buildings and landmarks, and you can scan it and read the whole history of that building and stuff like that, or that area. So they really do put a lot of time into it. Yeah.
Oh, there we go then. A bit of history. Mind you, educational games. I don't know. Do I want to learn?
You get to stab people too. So
that's true. That's true. That's a slight bonus to it. I'm waiting for Assassin's Creed Nazi Hunter to come out. That'll be good. We can kill Hitler during World War II. I'm sure they get there eventually. They're running out of eras, aren't they?
To be honest, that Victorian one looks pretty good. Sort of like that actually really appeals to me. Is it Victorian or
Syndicate?
Yeah,
Syndicate. Yeah. My boy, my son, he loved that because you got to go to Buckingham Palace and just assassinate the royal guards. And he just spent like 2 hours just climbing up and then assassinating a guard and then climbing up and assassinating a guard. So, but it looks wonderful. It's how I would imagine London would have looked then. So, and you get to climb Big Ben. Oh, sorry, not.
There's something you
You
need to
climb
tell
up
us
to
there,
Big
like,
Ben. Sorry?
is that something you want to tell us there? You want to kill our English guards? Assassinate the Queen?
Not at all. My son's just a sociopath, so.
Hashtag IndieRef2 coming up, is it?
It's a hotbed over here, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a surreal moment doing missions for Charles Darwin.
Yeah.
Dylan's here as well. There we go. If you want to see Dylan, he's on Big Game Al's Blackpool video.
Yes.
Being interviewed. Good to see him. He had a good day yesterday. Bad example of an RPG then, Stu, that you can think of.
Final Fantasy VIII. I'll say it time and time again. It was graphically awful, and you didn't grind in it. You get punished. You get penalised for grinding. And like Eddie says, grinding's sometimes, the thing that we're looking for. Yep. And you just get penalised for it.
Yep. And that was in your Desert Island games as well. There we go.
Yep. It was.
So I do write these things down just so people. I keep them for reference. So I do make a note of them. Ross found a copy of Syndicate in a charity shop, so he's going to give it a shot. Is that a fairly recent game, though?
Must be about 4 years now, 4 or 5.
Okay, that's fairly recent.
It's fairly recent.
Yeah.
It's the last of the old series. Before they switched over to Origins, this new open world light RPG version of Assassin's Creed.
As we said earlier, wasn't it? Yeah. Moving in that direction.
All goes over my head, all that stuff, all the Assassin's Creed, too many of them.
There's loads. It was 6 or 7 original games, I think there were in the series. And then, obviously, they've moved it on since and they're moving somewhere else. So, very, very strange. Anybody want to add anything else about RPGs, JRPGs that we've not discussed, or want to bring anything up?
Well, I'm going to do a first. There's a first for obviously my channel, and for me, I've made some purchases. So this is a world exclusive.
Oh, I shall give you the big screen then, mate. If we do this, because it's quite a historic moment. Then
it is quite an exciting moment, and I've got plenty of hand sanitizer on. But I have just started to invest in green spines.
Oh, 360, yeah. I'll get all those.
Because they're RPGs that I've never played. And that's an absolute shame. So I'm going to have to, as I say, first time I've bought 360 games, and it's the first time I've bought games that I don't have a console to play on. But that'll be getting rectified soon. So world exclusive, and I'm sure there's a few people that will watch this later on that will be absolutely laughing their socks off that the Sony pony has decided to go green.
The Sony pony.
Yeah, I was going to
the Sony.
You have crossed over to the green side, which is
I'm
very
dipping my toe in for their RPGs. We'll see where it goes for there.
I do see a green tinge coming into your hair. Like,
the front, just a little bit of the front, yeah. RetroKit says super hard achievements in some of the Assassin's Creed games. Hobby regrets Dylan. Can't do turn-based RPGs, but I do like action RPGs. Yeah. We've discussed both tonight, really. Stuart's shaking his head. So that's fantastic games you got there. I've got not all 3. I've got 2 of the 3 of those. I've got the Blue Dragon one and Fable 2, I think, as well. So.
Yeah. Well, it's Lost Odyssey that I'm really interested in. This obviously came from the creators of Final Fantasy.
Let's look at that. There we go.
So, I'm really looking forward to that one.
Blue Dragon's supposed to be absolutely fantastic as well. It's the artist base who does Dragon Quest series and stuff like that. So it's basically Xbox is way into the Japanese market. That's how they got the exclusivity of that. How he went from PlayStation to Xbox. He just went, here's a load of money. We need to get into Japan, and it still failed. Still didn't work for him. Yeah.
It doesn't look
because
like
the controller was that size with the Xbox.
The 360 was a little bit smaller, wasn't it?
The 360 was. But they've done the damage with the Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Japanese
Plus,
people don't
yeah.
trust Western like things.
Fair enough. I mean, that's why I was specky. I was ZX Spectrum because it was a British computer and we hated anyone that had a Commodore because that was the American machine. Yeah, the American machine owners.
Blue Dragon better than Lost Odyssey, both great, and got the 1000G on both.
That's nuts to get 1000G on an RPG.
Yeah.
Like, it must be some hours.
Yeah, Blue Dragon the box doesn't look like an RPG. It looks like a completely different game, but just that picture of a blue dragon on it front, ironically. Does it? You reckon? Stu, looking at that?
Oh, it's got a dragon on it. I mean,
Yeah.
most good RPGs have dragons in them at least, if not in the title. Dragon Age and Breath of Fire was about dragons, and yeah, everything's about dragons.
I must have been sleep buying again or something like that. I was in the shop just sleepwalking around. Dale makes a good point. Best handheld RPG. You started Chrono Trigger DS and it's epic.
Well, I can't speak. I don't do handhelds. So I've got a Vita. I just recently got a Vita, and that's to play Suikoden and Suikoden 2 on the go, and that's it.
I really prefer handhelds for playing RPGs. Absolutely love it, because with RPGs, they're great pick up and play games. And like with the Vita, you just press the power button, and it just goes to sleep, and you're ready to play it again. You just press it again, and you're just exactly where you was. So for me, the Vita was like such a RPG heavyweight for me. Played so many Suikoden. I played again on the Vita, same as you. Absolutely loved them again, and there's so many good ones. There's so many weird ones, very Japanese, like over-sexualized type games, like Criminal Girls.
He's at it again, isn't he? He's at it again.
Yeah, there's one called Criminal Girls, and like it's very like fan servicey.
We mentioned Galgun earlier, and that was it. Yeah, we're just gone again. So,
but yeah, you said about like more to add about RPGs. I think one thing that we've not actually picked up on is the sort of like looting of things, finding new weapons, and trying to figure out which is the best fit for your style of game playing. That's one of my favorite things, and again, why I love Borderlands so much, because you're just going around just like there's hundreds and hundreds of different types of weapons, and you're trying to find that one that's going to like fit into your gameplay style. Like which you check the stat. Once you've like amassed a few, you go and check the stats, and it's like you just like strategizing for your future battles and stuff. It's one of my favorite elements of RPGs in general.
It's the same reason I put like 600 hours into Destiny. It's the loot. It's finding the right build for your character for whatever situation you're going into. Yeah, it's a big game of chess. An RPG is a big game of chess.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it. The word 600 hours scares me. just that's a long time. I can't even work out how long it is now. I'm not getting used to work that out off the top of my head, but it's a hell of a long time.
So, as a 600 hours in Destiny fan, who was your favorite? Like, what was was it called the Ghost or something? The voice. Who was your favorite voice at the start? Because they replaced him, didn't they?
Yeah, they replaced Peter Dinklage, and they shouldn't have, but they had to use him like an actor.
I so much preferred him.
Yeah,
because he was very like slow with his like lines and stuff, but it was perfectly paced. But people didn't like it because of it.
Just too good an actor for the role. Yeah.
Was that a TV series or something? Yeah?
Destiny.
Yeah.
No.
No, sorry, I'm getting confused with it. Sorry,
Dynasty.
Dynasty, yes, yeah. Thanks,
no,
Sean, yeah.
Thousands of hours into Dynasty.
Dynasty, yeah. I think I'm thinking of Defiance. Sorry, I'm thinking of Defiance. That was a TV series.
Oh, Defiance.
Yes,
and there was a game for Defiance as well.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I think it was server only one. I think
it was. Yeah.
So I was sort of in the right area anyway.
A bit like Destiny, that was server only as well, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dynasty the game has been good.
It's coming. You've heard it
Might-
first.
Make a decent RPG.
It would do. I think they did make a game on Dallas, didn't they? I think at one
they?
point. Yeah, I think it's certainly an 8-bit game for Dallas. I'm pretty sure there was.
To be honest, from looking into all you guys' Spectrums and C64 pickups, they made a game for everything back then.
Oh yeah, they did. You're absolutely right.
I mean, I'm
Breath of
sure
the
there's a
Wild.
Jane Fonda workout like Spectrum game somewhere.
I'm surprised I didn't invest a copy of Samantha Fox's Strip Poker yet, given your history of dodgy games.
I actually have. My dad actually had a copy for years. And I was like, what is this? He's not allowed to play that song.
Oh, those blocky 8-bit graphics. Is that a nipple or is it a blocky graphic? I can't quite tell. Breath of the Wild is the best handheld RPG. There's a Duck Dynasty game. There is. It's not very good, apparently. I've heard about that one.
That's a TV show as well, isn't it?
That's a TV show, yeah. People shooting ducks in America. Interesting. So, anybody get anything else to add at all? Anything we've missed out, or anything that we've not covered, or anybody want to bring up before we sort of bring the topic to a close?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm quite surprised Eddie didn't bring up Vandal Hearts when he was talking about his turn-based strategy. Yeah, because there was another fantastic couple of games. Yeah,
Vandal Hearts, perfect. Like, to be honest, I've not really played much into the second one, but I need to go back and play them because I got kindly gifted the first one by Corbana, so I need to go back and play them. Love them games. Again, they'll be perfect for the Vita. Just play on the go. Just do a couple of like rounds and just go. Have you actually played the Capcom versus Namco ones, the ones on the 3DS? I know you don't do handhelds, do you?
No, I don't know.
So hang on, here we go. The Namco versus Capcom. So
hang on, let's get you the big screen. Hang on.
So these bring in like multiple characters from like Namco and like Capcom and Sega as well. So it's called Project X Zone in the West on the 3DS. Absolutely love this game. It just brings in Resident Evil characters, Street Fighter characters with like dot hack characters. It's just such a bonkers game, but like you do like turn-based strategy sort of like gameplay, but like when you're actually fighting to get an extra boost on your stats, you sort of almost do like sort of like a basic 2D fighting game where you basically it's like you got to press the button at the right place to do an attack even harder. And I just absolutely love these games. Like definitely recommend playing them.
Definitely
like,
going on my list.
Your first handheld game, you owe it yourself to play them if you like strategy games.
Never heard of it. Never heard of that. Namco versus Capcom.
Yeah. It's a crossover that a lot of people don't even know existed, really, isn't it?
Well, I'd say 75% of us sitting here tonight don't know that one. Not come across that one before, but yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay, well, I think we'll bring that topic to a close for this particular episode. But yeah, I think it's an interesting discussion. Thanks for everybody who's put comments in and asked questions tonight as well. Great to have some people in the chat here. Before we finish tonight, chaps, just a quick go around the panel. Anybody got anything coming up on YouTube in the immediate future? Eddie, anything planned at all?
Might be doing a quiz tomorrow.
Oh, yes. Good point. There's a quiz tomorrow night. It's who are you up against?
The Nerdy Geezer. So yeah, I'm a bit worried. So the thing is with me, when you put me on the spot and ask me a question, I just completely mind freeze. But like when I'm watching the quizzes, I'm like, I'm shouting at you going, it's obviously this. And I won't be doing that tomorrow. I know I won't.
That's over on the Retrobates channel, isn't it? Retrobates tomorrow night.
I think 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 o'clock on Retrobate. Changed from the Wednesday slot because I think Nerdy Geezer was working. So
that's right.
Yeah. And then I think there's talk about him doing it on the Saturdays after that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
just because we all work. We've all got like busy lifestyles, haven't we?
All the things to do, isn't it?
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Apart from the quiz, any other videos planned, or you just?
Well, I've got a week off this week, so I might try and do something. I mean,
good. Yeah.
I might do a Fabled room tour. I don't know. I might it's just getting the effort into doing something like that, isn't it?
Well, in between that and your new ISIS activities, I would have thought you'd have, But, Stuart, I know you put a video up today.
I did.
Which is just give us, and anybody who hasn't seen that, just to give us a quick overview of what that is, in case you haven't seen that series before.
That's the Better Half box. So rather than paying a subscription fee like Video Game Monthly and Retro Treasure, what I do is I give money to the Better Half, and she goes and puts together a surprise mystery box of video games for me, and it's always, well, a little bit hilarious.
Some interesting ones in the current one. That was for sure. That was yeah.
I mean, and there's a few of them to go back and watch. So.
Have you got any other videos upcoming in the next week also?
Yeah, I'll have the last episode in the A to ZX of the Spectrum. That series is coming to an end. I'll be doing a selection of 5 games with numbers for titles. I have got a big pickups, the last big pickups of the year, because that jolly old fat man's coming, so most of the pickups won't be for me. And I'll be working on a new series after the A to ZX Spectrum finishes. Working title is Mastering the System. So if you want to hazard a guess to where that's going to go.
PC Engine.
Yeah, that's it. Well done. Actually, I've got a PC Engine mini video almost done as well. Don't know whether I'll put that out or not, but yeah.
Yep, and I'll just pop a link in for your channel as well in the description. If anybody's coming late, I've not seen Stuart before, go across and have a look at his channel. Does some great stuff. Yeah, go have a look. Go and encourage him, make him do some more videos. Keep him busy.
I don't need encouragement to do videos. I just need people.
You don't. You do
watch
quite a few, don't you? Yeah, you do quite a few in all honesty. But yeah, there's a really good mixture of stuff on there, and you will certainly, if the one in videos is your taste, you'll definitely find something on there that
yeah, I like to do a mix.
Yeah.
There's not one. Well, Generation Pixel. That's the whole point of the channel. It's everything from the 70s to now.
Yep. It's really, really good as well. Sean, what have you got coming up?
Pretty quiet on my channel at the minute. I've just edited a 1 hour of video game first-person shooter music. I mean, these that I've been posting out, I've done horror, driving, fighting games. To be honest, they're mainly for my own listening while I'm painting. I don't expect anybody to watch them, to be honest. I'll listen to them, but I just do it for my own benefit. But as you know, the road trip's coming up in just over a week, so there's going to be vlogs and stuff shortly after that, or even as we're on the trip itself. Maybe upload a little video each night or something like that.
We'd expect something like that.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that, and hopefully get some good games for collection.
Yeah, I'm gutted I can't go on that myself, but
it's a shame.
I know
there'll be another time.
Well.
Yeah, there'll be another time.
Yeah.
If you ever need anyone to haggle for you, just give me a call and I'll
I will.
It's definitely worth it. In terms of myself, I might actually have some proper related content coming out over the next couple of days or so. I've got to film it first, but hopefully an update on what's happening with my games room as well, because those of you who know, been a bit of decorating going on, and I've got a bit of an update on it. Still a couple of weeks out yet, but I'll be able to bring you up to speed with that. There's some birthday pickups which I did with Sean a couple of weeks ago when we did that, but I need to put that into a proper video because I've got some more stuff since then, and probably a King of the Community video to come out as well, some more shout outs, which I haven't done for a very long time. I need to get my arse into gear on that as well. So I know a lot of people like watching those. So that hopefully will be up again, maybe this week, maybe next week. Next couple of weeks got quite more gaming related content coming. So I haven't done an awful lot recently. There's still the Desert Island games coming every Saturday morning, which have got upcoming episodes planned for the next 3 weeks or so, which is good. Nice and good. If you haven't been on Desert Island games, Sean, and I haven't been on yet, We've got to sort that out,
No,
haven't we?
we're going to work something out.
We've got to try and work something out. But if you want to go have a check on my channel, check out the Desert Island Games. Stuart's done it, Eddie's done it, and quite a few people have. Some more to film and record for those. Hope people will go across and listen to there. Claire says more painting music. And congratulations to Sean for going past 300 subs.
Have I?
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
I know they said I'm on 299 or something, wasn't it? I've actually gone past, right? Lovely.
There we go.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, it's well achieved, mate, and bad bloody time and all. There's a lot of things going on there. So, so I think what we'll do, we'll bring that to a close. I'll just like to say thank you very much to Stuart, Generation Pixel, for being our special guest this evening.
Thank you very much for inviting me on.
No, it's been fun. I've certainly hope people have enjoyed that and listened to it and learned a bit. I've certainly learned a bit as well.
Learned a bit, yeah.
Yeah. And thanks to Eddie and Sean for coming in as always and making themselves available. Nice to have you on, chaps.
Yep.
Just going to drop you all backstage and I'll come chat to you in a second. And there they go. A bit shorter than usual tonight, but I think we've exhausted all the chat for this evening. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in. It's been great to have you here on the tNb Gaming Podcast. You've been in the chat tonight and leaving messages and comments. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. We're back again in 2 weeks' time, which I think, memory serves me correctly, is going to be the 7th of November. Got a special guest lined up for that one and a topic as well, but we'll get release date a bit closer to the time. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, I think we've probably got maybe about 3 or more of these to do before Christmas, because it's only 9 weeks to Christmas now. Yeah, so have a look at the calendar. It's 9 weeks to go. It's not very long, is it, when you think about it? So we've got 3 probably to do before Christmas. So, if you want to be a guest on the podcast, let me know. Or contact one of the chaps through the usual messaging methods that we use. And we'll try and hammer something out. It'd be great to have a guest on. And we'll try and get some of the lads involved as well. But until then, this is the Retro Bear saying thank you very much for the company. It's been great to have you all here tonight. Do take care. And we will speak to you again on the 7th of November. Just a quick mention that this time next week, it'll be the Halloween edition of Swap Shop. So do go along and give Retro Chef and his guest that night some support as well. Be good day. And we're back in 2 weeks' time. We shall see you then. But until then, do take care. And we'll see you soon.